Hey YouTube, it's time to do the follow-up on how to can the sauerkraut that we made in the video that's linked right here so that we end up with jars that look like this. So if you started making your sauerkraut about 5 weeks ago, we're going to be canning it today. I'm going to show you how easy it is to just water bath can it. I'll show you a few of the tools we're going to need. I'm going to be doing pint regular mouth jars. You are going to need a jar lifter because we're doing a water bath, boiling water bath canning, ladle to move everything into jars. We're going to need a canning funnel. You're going to need the magnet, which I will show you what we're going to do with that on the caps once we get to them, and that will be these non-reusable canning caps, reusable rings, and have a bubble freer, or what I like to call a butter knife. We're going to be using that towards the end. So I'm going to take you over to the crock, which is right here behind me, and I'll show you what this looks like in the crock after 5 weeks sitting on the back counter at a low, cool room temperature. And you go through and skim every day or so, skim any foam or scum or mold that develops, skim it off, and you'll have something that looks like this after 5 weeks. And you can see the brine is still nicely covering it. There's still a plate down in there, so I'm going to pull the plate out like this. And you can see how beautiful that looks down in there. And what I'm going to do, there are 2 ways to do this. You can do it raw pack and put this just right in jars, but I actually like to do a hot pack. Just, I don't know why, I know it probably makes a difference to some people because of the probiotic nature of fermented food, but I like to warm this up on the stove to a simmer before I put it in my jar. So I am going to do that, but if you have this book, this is the recipe that I'll be using. It's the best one I've found so far, and it has both ways. So you can find out how to do both methods if you use this book. Or you can, you can Google it. I'm sure there's a ton of people that have done this before. Before we get it in the pot warming up, I'm gonna do, my canning caps are gonna go in a little pot of hot water on the back of the stove. I've tried it both ways. You don't need to get them warm before you use them, but I found I have better luck with the sealing when they're warm before they go on the jars. And my trick, this is where you'll use the magnet to get them out of the hot water, but my trick for not burning your fingers with hot water, when you get them out of the box, you're going to see that they're stacked, kind of fitted together like that. And if you try and get them out of the water like this with a magnet, you're going to pull 2. And then when you try to get that apart, you'll get a little seal will happen, and you'll get a burst of hot water that will make you sorry. So my trick for that is to put these put them in the water, one alternating right side up and upside down so they don't stick together in the water. So you go one up, one down, one up, one down. And I've got the jars I'm using are also, they run through the dishwasher, so they're sanitized. But if you do them alternating like this, then they just slide apart and you just get one. So there's a little trick for you. Those go in the hot water in the back, and I always try and guess how many jars I'm going to need before I start. Just a little game I play with myself. I'm guessing we'll probably get 8 pints. So I'm going to put 10-ish lids in there just in case I'm wrong. And I'm just going to use, you can use a big measuring cup or whatever you want to scoop this out of the crock and get it in there. It might be handy to have a little bit of brine made handy on the side and hot for when you put these in the jars. If you need to bring up that headspace a little bit, you might want to have a little bit of brine handy to do that. And you can't believe how good this smells. If you like sauerkraut, you know what I'm talking about. How gorgeous that is. It's so perfect. Oh. And I'm going to put that over just probably a medium heat. Kind of stir it around so it's all even. And I will come back once this is simmering, and we're going to put it in jars. And at the end, we're going to have my mom tell me how my Polish grandmother used to serve sauerkraut. And I've never heard of it before, and I need to look up and see if it's like a traditional Polish way to serve it, or is it just a depression recipe that has been passed down through my family. I think you're going to find it interesting. And I'm going to try it for the first time on camera because I've never tried it, and she swears it tastes really good and everyone loves it. So we're going to try it and see. Okay, so this is simmering just a little bit. I don't get it really boiling, but it is simmering. I've got my jars here handy. The lids are ready to go and a pot of water boiling on the stove here. So I have discovered also a little trick if you're putting sauerkraut in jars. You got your canning funnel. Tongs might be nice because a spoon going in here, I tried ladling it and it was just a little bit difficult. So I'm going to just use tongs to get this in, and you can't believe how good this smells. Oh my goodness, it's so good. We're just going to kind of loosely get those filled to about right there, and then I'm going to do all of them like that, and then I'll use the remaining brine to top these up to a 1/2 inch headspace, which I measured, and it happens that this line right here is 1/2 inch. Just a little tip for the future. So I'll go ahead and get these filled, and we'll get them in the hot water. And for this one, we are going to be doing a fully boiling water bath, not some of the, some of the pickles do at 185 water, but this one I'm going to keep boiling. Look how gorgeous that looks. It's really nice. This batch turned out really, really nice. Pretty excited to try some here in a little bit. And again, if you want to raw pack this in the jars and then do the boiling water bath, you can. And like fermented food is always going to be better for you if it's not heat processed, I imagine. But because I want this to go in the pantry, I am going to can it and take the hit on the whatever the health benefits are of fermented food that's raw packed. I have made kimchi though, and you don't have to process that, so you can just eat it and enjoy the benefits if you like kimchi, which I do not. And I got 9 jars, so 8 was close, but I've got them all packed like that, and what I'm going to do now is just use the ladle and put what's left in the bottom is mostly brine, so we're going to use that to top that up with the liquid to get up to that 1/2 inch headspace. And you can see if you're a little too high, you could take a little bit out just to make sure you're at 1/2 inch, because if you get too shallow of a headspace, you'll end up with product boiling up out under the lids and you won't get a good seal. Oh, that's really warm. Take your knife, and we're going to go down in and just kind of jostle everything around to remove any air bubbles that are trapped in there, and make sure you keep that 1/2 inch headspace. And then what I do is just take a damp paper towel and just make sure that you have nothing on this. You want this really, really clean, because if you have any food particles there, again, you're not going to get a good seal. Then we're going to take our magnet back in our little pot of hot water and get out one lid, put that on top, grab one of your reusable rings, and you don't want to tighten this too tight. You just want to do finger tight and then give it a little nudge. And then we're going to take our jar lifter and start putting them in the pot of boiling water. And when you're doing boiling water bath, you want to make sure once the jars are all in the water that you have a good 2 inches of boiling water over the top of all the lids. So if you need to add some water, then top it up after you get all your jars in there. So I'm going to get the rest of these filled with brine and put them in the water, and then we're going to boil them for 25 minutes at my altitude. Make sure you check your altitude, because if you're at different altitudes, it will be different times. So for me, that's going to mean 25 minutes in boiling water before we pull these out and make sure they're sealed. I am going to add a little bit of water to this because it's just not quite 2 inches there, but it's already almost boiling. So as soon as that gets up to boiling, we'll set the timer for 25 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the water off at that point and let these sit in here for 5 minutes to sort of cool down before we take them out. So these have boiled for 25 minutes at my altitude, and we're going to just take the jar lifter and carefully move them over to sit on a clean pad until they've sealed entirely. So we have 9 of these beautiful jars finished. It looks like most of them have sealed, and I'm going to let these sit overnight, and then they'll go in the pantry with the date marked on them for later. I hope this inspires you to try making your own sauerkraut and putting it up in they're still sealing. I hope this inspires you to try making your own and putting it in jars for wintered snacks and dinners. And if you'd like to see me cooking with my mom, and she's going to share her recipe that her mom used to make when she was a kid that includes some secret ingredients I'd never heard of, you can check that out at the video linked right here. We'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Putting them up, I hope this oh my god, I'm not.